Chapter 21. 21. Speculation about the reward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 21. Chapter 21. Speculation about the reward. Conan looked at Jiraiya with joy, with a rare smile on her face. He was still like that and never changed. Conan saw some more things from the analysis of the fourth question. Jiraiya-sensei didn't bring the three of them back to Konohagakure after teaching them to protect them. Conan pursed her lips and quickly figured out the cause and effect. It seemed that Konohagakure wasn't as peaceful as it appeared. I think Jiraiya-sensei was worried about what would happen to Nagato in Konoha because of his eyes. After all, everyone knew that Konoha had the two largest clans that were experts in pupil techniques. Conan's head was slightly tilted. She wondered if it was just a feeling. She felt like someone was watching her from above the fog. As if there was an unknown existence overlooking her. Conan tried to see through the fog but to no avail. She could only see the fog that formed the analysis drift away. Sarutobi Hiruzen. How dare you give the position of 5th Hokage to Tsunade? Danzo stared angrily and viciously at Sarutobi Hiruzen. I've shed blood, sweat, and tears for Konoha. The position of the 5th Hokage should be mine. Danzo directly stated the words in his heart. For a long time, everyone was aware of his obsession. After all, even a fool could see that Danzo had thoughts about the Hokage seat with what he had done. But for a long time, this open secret had never been acknowledged in public. Until today, he became angry from embarrassment and pointed it out himself. Danzo, you crossed the line. Hiruzen, don't be angry. Danzo didn't mean it. Yeah, Hiruzen, Danzo is just babbling, don't take it seriously. The two advisors of Hokage rushed to console Sarutobi Hiruzen, fearing that an angry Sarutobi Hiruzen would turn on the two of them, only to find Sarutobi Hiruzen looking at them with a strange expression on his face. What? What's the matter? The two advisors were extremely uncomfortable by Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze and asked as they touched their faces suspiciously. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo again and shook his head in disappointment when he saw that he was still angry. These three people had lost their sensitivity to information and their ability to analyze intelligence. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the three calmly and said something that made the hair on their bodies stand on end. Tell me, in what kind of situation would I choose Tsunade? And in what kind of situation would Danzo agree to it? I would agree. I would Nevada. Danzo Shimura was about to taunt Sarutobi Hiruzen for being senile when he suddenly froze. He remembered the conditions for becoming Hokage. When a Kage takes office, they must obtain the unanimous consent of the Jonin of the village. He would never agree to anyone other than himself becoming Hokage, but Tsunade became the 5th Hokage. In other words, Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in horror, and for a moment, his whole body felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. We've gotten 4 questions right, and if we get one more right, we'll see the video. Kakuzu moved his wrist. Several black tentacles extended from his arm, waving like octopuses, looking impatient. He couldn't wait to find out how he died. Thinking about the question just now, since that Namake's Minato guy could be resurrected, it's not surprising that others could be resurrected as well. He just wanted to know who killed him. After all, the one who could kill him must be a powerful person in the shinobi world. If it's really as he imagined, it would be an honor to die at the hands of those two. But if he died at the hands of a nobody, Kakuzu absolutely couldn't accept it. I don't know what the last question would be. I can't wait to spread the faith of my God. Haiden licked his tongue excitedly. He had turned back to his normal state. Orochimaru, who looked unscathed, glanced at him from time to time through the corner of his eye. In fact, in contrast, I would like to know what kind of art exploded when I died. Deidara's voice was full of fanaticism, as he knew his ultimate means. He believed that no one could survive such an art except for the leader. Uchiha Itachi still would be able to. Therefore, compared with who his enemy was, he was more looking forward to seeing what kind of brilliance would finally bloom with the desperate means he could only use once. It also determined whether he wanted to use that technique in the future. Hoshigaki Kisame's eyes wandered around, revealing a terrible smile. He was looking forward to anything. This existence could easily kill him and bring him back to life. What kind of shock could it bring next? At the same time, Akatsuki and people from all over the shinobi world were waiting for the fifth question to appear. Everyone knew that everyone in Akatsuki had answered 4 questions correctly, so as long as they answered the last one correctly, they could get the reward from the space. Having witnessed the magical things the space could do, everyone was interested in the reward that the space had talked about. Dad, what do you think the exam space will give them if Akatsuki gets the last question right? Nara Shikamaru looked at his father, who had been stony silent since he returned from the Hokage's office, and asked. What do you think, Shikamaru? Nara Shikaku withdrew from his pensive state, having just been thinking about the connection between several questions in the space. If the analysis of the space were all regarded as true statements, he could guess the real participants and their involvements in the Fourth Shinobi World War. This should be the immediate reason why Zetsu and the shinobi named Kabuto were able to hold back the entire shinobi coalition with just the 2 of them. Resurrection of the dead. Resurrection of a large number of the dead. And that Uchiha Madara needs to use Uchiha Obito in the plan. Combined with the resurrection of the dead. Uchiha Madara wants to be revived. But with Madara's temperament, he would never be satisfied with resurrecting like an undead, so Uchiha Madara's plan must be a true resurrection. Nara Shikaku looked at the broadcast screen above. He knew too little news, and the information he could scrutinize was too little. Nara Shikaku thought for a moment. Now, if he wanted to get more information, he could only use the video as a starting point. Hope they can answer the last question correctly. Dad, what are you thinking? Nothing, I was wondering what kind of answer you would give me. In my opinion, the exam space may give them something to enhance their strength, or it may give some precious tools that we haven't seen before. Anything else? Nara Shikaku looked calm. These are things ordinary people could think of, but his son wouldn't only think of these things. Make up exam chances. Shikamaru, with a burning light in his eyes, cared about this the most. This was something the space had only mentioned once, and he kept it in mind. He wanted to know if he could take the next exam with this. Chapter 22. 22, Question 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 22. Chapter 22. Question 5. Oh. Why? The expression on Nara Shikaku's face finally changed. He suddenly found that his son was lazy, but his IQ was higher than he thought. There were no recreational activities in the shinobi world, and civilian life was very boring. Coupled with the sensitivity of one's own identity, Nara Shikaku did not test Shikamaru on shinobi matters. Therefore, Nara Shikaku had always played chess with his son and trained him by playing chess. Until today, with the appearance of the live broadcast, Nara Shikaku felt that he had unlocked a new parenting style. It was really an effective means of education to test his own brat with the questions from the space. This is the first time this exam space appeared. Obviously, it wouldn't be the only time. Nara Shikaku nodded and motioned Shikamaru to continue. I found that both the analysis and the list of the Shinobi World List were only shown to us once. So far, the only thing that hasn't demonstrated its usefulness to us is the make-up exam chances. According to the exam space, people could be exempted from the make-up exam fee and directly participate in the exam with a make-up exam ticket. And the space has also said that people need to keep taking exams to upgrade their privileges and continue to see the Shinobi World List, which indicates that subsequent members of Akatsuki still have the opportunity to enter the exam space. Therefore, I guess whether Akatsuki answered the fifth question correctly or not, the test space will give them a make.up exam ticket as one of the prizes. Because no one is more suitable than them to show what it can do. Yes, anything else? Nara Shikaku looked at his son with relief and couldn't help but feel emotions from the bottom of his heart. This is my son. He's showing his skills as a strategist now. Nara Shikaku was about to correct some of Shikamaru's oversights when she heard Shikamaru continue. Dad, do you think that this exam space has a purpose of some kind? As far as I know, no matter what exam, it has its purpose and significance. So, what is the purpose of this exam that can predict the future? Suddenly a thought flashed in Nara Shikaku's mind. He quickly tried to catch the thought, but it was too late. Nara Shikaku recalled the conversation just now and gradually turned serious. Almost. Just a little short. Shikamaru, go on. Nara Shikaku picked up the glass of water on the board and took a sip of water. Shikamaru, this kid gave him so many surprises today. Assuming that this exam is to select people who meet certain requirements, then the exam space will not only summon Akatsuki and Jiraiya-sama. With its great ability, it could summon everyone in the entire shinobi world. Nara Shikaku held the cup to his mouth and tilted it slightly, letting the water refresh the corners of his somewhat dry mouth. He knew what his boy was going to say. As expected, Nara Shikamaru opened his mouth and said, there are two major commonalities in this group. One is that the vast majority of them are members of the Akatsuki, the second commonality is that they are all powerful shinobis. Gulp. Nara Shikamaru stared at his father. When he spoke, he felt his mouth go dry. He knew it wasn't physical, rather a mental reaction. Shikamaru cautiously pursed his lips, not knowing whether to voice his suspicions. After all, this was too sensational. Do you suspect that a certain number of strong people would induce the exam space to descend? Therefore, do you think that the 5 major shinobi villages are all suspected places where the examination space would appear next? No. Dad. Shikamaru looked around cautiously and leaned out about halfway towards Shikaku's ear. I'm worried that someone behind the space is manipulating it, and that person doing so is most likely related to Akatsuki. Crack. Shikaku's finger subconsciously excreted force, and the water cup in his hand shattered. The water inside it splashed all over the place. Nara Shikaku didn't pay attention to it at all. At that moment, he was looking at his son in shock. How did he come up with this? This intellect, bordering on the demonic. Nara Shikaku smiled bitterly and was about to speak when the door to the room behind him suddenly opened. A sweet-looking woman anxiously came in with a broom. First, she looked at the pair of father and son. When she saw that everything was fine, she slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she swung the broom directly at Shikamaru and his father, sending them flying. You two, how dare you make a ruckus when watching the live broadcast? I'll tear you apart. In the exam space, the crowd was anxiously waiting. The 5th question finally slowly appeared above the space. Question 5. When Pain attacked Konohagakure, who stopped him? A. Sarutobi Hiruzen. B. Hatake Kakashi. C. Might Guy. D. Uzumaki Naruto. E. Namikaze Minato. An extra option. Is it to increase the difficulty? The answer list that was longer than the first 4 questions instantly captured people's attention, and they coincidentally looked to the answer first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Looking at the 5 options of the 5th question, they paused. They didn't expect that the format of the exam questions in the exam space would change. Does that mean that there might be additional exam questions and even more difficult ones in the future? Shit. No wonder some analysis of the 2nd question answers only had single sentences. Deidara let out a strange yell. Every time the space analyzed the answers, there would be long explanations, but the second question had only one message about the leader's rebellion. Option C, 6th Pain rebelled before the Fourth Shinobi World War. So, it was waiting here. Deidara secretly cursed the exam space's mother and then spoke without looking up. Leader, in the last question, you were chosen because you could beat Jiraiya. Who do you think could beat you out of the 5 people in this question? Dot. At this moment, the spurred Jiraiya's head was full of question marks. Since when did the value of strength become the basis for answering questions? Looking at Deidara, who kept drawing hatred, Jiraiya shook his head. All 5 were Konohagakure's people, and he was familiar with all of them. But to be honest, the one that can beat Pain. Let's not talk about Pain, I should think about it first. Jiraiya thought differently. After all, if they couldn't even beat himself, how could they still try to stop Pain, who he couldn't even beat? Sarutobi Hiruzen. Too old. Hatake Kakashi. Chakra is severely lacking. Might Guy. He can't use jutsu either. Uzumaki Naruto. Is still a child. Minato. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. If he didn't know that Minato could be resurrected in the future, he thought, there wouldn't be a correct answer to this question. Chapter 23. 23, the top of the shinobi world, Pain would go against gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. The top of the shinobi world, Pain would go against gods. What did you say? As Deidara's words fell, 7 pairs of Rinnegan simultaneously settled on Deidara. A terrifying pressure that couldn't be described in words instantly swept over him. Deidara was stunned. He heard a trace of anger from the leader's words. I said. You could beat Jiraiya up. The 7 pairs of dangerous eyes narrowed at the same time. Deidara realized something. Is our leader prideful? The next words. 7 cold voices sounded in unison, almost scaring Deidara to piss himself. He knew that because he was a member of Akatsuki, the leader wouldn't do anything to him. At most, he would threaten him as he was doing now. What's more, this was the exam space, and the last person to cause a ruckus was still being suppressed right now. But being targeted by Rinnegan, Deidara felt that the whole body was going numb. It was as if the air around him was being stripped away under the effect of Rinnegan, making it difficult for him even to breathe. It's terrible. The leader's strength is too frightening. What kind of situation did he get himself into? Deidara boasted that his strength was no weaker than that of a Kage. Level. Although it was far from his own sensei, compared to other Kages, even if he couldn't win, at least he wouldn't lose too quickly. But, right now, the leader's gaze alone gave him an urge to kneel. And, what the hell was this? If I resist, I will die, feeling in my gut. Not even Inoki had ever brought out this kind of feeling in him. Does it mean that the leader's strength was far superior to Inoki? Even far beyond Inoki. Deidara wasn't a fool. After entering the exam space all this while, he had long since discovered who the real leader of Akatsuki was. He knew it wasn't just him, the rest of Akatsuki had found out too. It's just that these guys, one by one, were acting like they didn't know anything. That guy in the wheelchair was the real leader of Akatsuki. He manipulated the remaining 6 bizarre corpses, 6 corpses whose strength were equal to or even exceeded the Kage level. Such strength. Such power. Deidara forcibly suppressed his body's impulse to tremble. BL.net The feeling of pins and needles on his scalp hadn't gone away, letting him know that above, Pain was still staring at him. It seemed that if he didn't give him an answer, he would keep staring. Deidara took a deep breath. In this situation, he certainly knew what he had to say. To be honest, he was an idiot. Fortunately, he had experience in dealing with prideful people. Hopefully, there should be no distinction between men and women in the shinobi world. At the thought of this, Deidara immediately stood up. He raised his spirits with a slightly cheerful tone. Leader, I just mean that you're at the peak of the shinobi world. At your level, only a god could beat you. Bullshit. Bootlicker. Fucking idiot. Listening to Deidara's words, not only Pain but the other Akatsuki members also froze. Conan's hand covered her mouth, blocking the giggle. Snap. The scroll behind Sasori directly fell to the ground. The crab-like puppet froze completely, as he forgot to control the puppet. At the peak of the shinobi world, only a god could beat Pain. Peak of the shinobi world. Only a god could beat Pain. A god. Deidara's voice seemed to have some kind of magnetic charm, like a bell ringing in his ear. In the wheelchair, Nagato's eyes erupted with a sharp light, and goosebumps rose all over his body. Yes, yes, yes. Even though he was emotionally stable as he always was, at the moment, he yelled 3 times in his heart. As a man, who didn't want to get drunk on power and take over the world. As a strong man, he also wanted to be able to do anything and everything he wanted. But, his body. How long has it been? How long has it been since I've felt like this? Tears appeared again in his eyes. Under his robe, Pain's hand clenched his leg in a deadly grip. Exhilaration. Excitement. Thrilled. He didn't expect that he could get such an evaluation. He didn't expect such a comment to come from the mouth of a subordinate whom he regarded as a tool. And, in front of so many people. This guy knew him well. Nagato's face almost turned red. He looked around between the group of black-robed wearing people. For an instant, Nagato surprisingly felt indebted to these guys. Except for Kakuzu, it's amazing that everyone else didn't even get a paycheck. This won't work. Things have to change. Must be changed. Deidara held his head high, but his eyes kept noticing the expression on Nagato's face. When he saw Nagato actually blushing, he slightly shook his head in his heart. The leader's mental capacity isn't too high. Sigh. There were at least 100 kinds of heartfelt words at this level. Unexpectedly, this one already worked. Seeing Pain's eyes sweeping in, Deidara quickly straightened up. Pain's eyes fell on Deidara, his gaze softened, and he nodded in his mind. Although Deidara had poor strength, poor mental endurance, and poor combat experience. Deidara, you are too weak. If you encounter an unbeatable enemy, you can summon Deva Path for help. As the voice fell, Deva Path Pain stretched out his hand and tossed a scroll that landed steadily in Deidara's hand. Ah. Yeah, okay. Deidara's face suddenly showed a surprised expression. Deva Path, isn't this the one everyone else thought was the leader? Did he just lent the guy to me? Oh, not lent, but I can summon him once for myself. That's a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card. Deidara held the scroll and mentally thanked a black-haired girl from back home. The leader is powerful. The leader is awesome. The leader is invincible. Shameless. Such shamelessness. TSK, Haiden and Kakuzu stared at Deidara, who was still cheering. They didn't expect that the situation would turn out this way. Originally, everyone was watching how ridiculous Deidara was, putting his foot in his own mouth, only to turn around and receive a one-time fast pass. Pun intended. That was the original leader. Even Orochimaru couldn't last a single move in its hands, and now his summoning scroll was given to Deidara. Fuck. If they had known that a mouth could be that powerful, what was the use of gaining strength? The undead duo looked at each other, and both saw the resentment in each other's eyes. They both had lived for so long, but this is the first time they saw this kind of thing. Sasori was shocked. We agreed to make art together, but Deidara turned into an ass kisser. And kissed it successfully. His words. At the peak of the shinobi world, only a god could beat the leader. This ass-kissing was really loud. Not to mention that the leader should be in the leading role. He tried to put his name into it, and his whole core shivered with excitement and was almost damaged. At the peak of the shinobi world, only a god could beat Sasori. Sasori's body trembled again, so he hastily closed his senses to force himself to calm down. He was also a puppet, so there shouldn't be any feelings like pride. Deidara. Deidara. You're really something. Sasori sighed tiredly. Now, he finally knew what Deidara's art was about. It's not fucking clay at all. It's his mouth. That talking mouth. Deidara, you have a lot of mouths. It's fucking amazing. Chapter 24. 24, Deidara is right, worthy of the name. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. Deidara is right, worthy of the name. At the peak of the shinobi world, only a god could beat Inoki. Inoki nodded in satisfaction. It was good to listen to, and he liked it. Note. He's imagining it. Narrowing his eyes and gauging Deidara, who was gaining benefits, Inoki grinned. Deidara has grown up. TSK. A bootlicking ass-kisser. Below, Kuratsuchi, with a pair of long legs and a head of black hair, spat in anger. Deidara, this guy, actually said the same words she used to beg him for help. Humph. Without me by your side, you are becoming more and more skilled, Deidara. A dangerous light flashed in Kuratsuchi's eyes. She turned to look at her grandfather. She wanted to ask her grandfather to find a chance to catch him and bring him back. Catch him. Catch. Grandpa. Seeing Inoki huffing and puffing, Kuratsuchi blinked dully as she wondered what she had done wrong. Kuratsuchi, if you were half as smart as Deidara, the fourth Tsuchikage of Iwagakure would have been you. Grandpa, what did you say? Kuratsuchi instantly blew up. It was not about being the fourth Tsuchikage, but she was Inoki's granddaughter and knew how much effort the Shadow's affairs required. Besides, with her current status, no one in Iwagakure would dare to talk to her like this. But, she didn't want to be the fourth Tsuchikage. She only blew up because her grandfather said she wasn't half as smart as Deidara. How was that possible? I have a lot more intelligence in my one toe than that guy's entire head. Oh, you're not convinced? Inoki shook his head. This granddaughter of his, smart and agile but too high-minded and arrogant. Did you see what Deidara just did? TSK, what else should I see? It was flattery, who wouldn't do that? Kuratsuchi muttered. When she saw Inoki drifting to her face with a stern face, she quickly changed to a na. Look. Grandpa, my good grandpa, just tell me, okay. I'm really worried about you. Inoki couldn't stand Kuratsuchi's spoiled act and gently stroked the top of Kuratsuchi's head. This was still effective in the shinobi world. You see, Deidara, with a mere word of flattery, not only solved his situation but also gained benefits. Inoki nodded and spoke in a serious tone. In the shinobi world, without having a lot of power, this ability to adapt to changes is extremely valuable. A great man can bend and stretch, judge the situation, know when to advance or retreat, and understand gains and losses. You are far inferior to Deidara in this matter. Inoki spoke with a few hints of warning in his voice. Whether it's the shinobi world or anywhere else, rigidity is easy to break. You see, the third Raikage, even though he is the enemy of 10,000 people, he isn't advancing. After listening to her grandfather's long lecture, Kuratsuchi's face darkened as she turned her head and spat her tongue out. Her eyes happened to fall on the bootlicking Deidara again. Him. That good. Making grandpa think he's a great man. Kuratsuchi's eyes twitched slightly as she heard her grandfather's words of heartache and regretted Deidara's defection from Iwagakure. Since you're so strong, get your ass back here. Kuratsuchi made up her mind. She was going to find a chance to grab and drag him back from Akatsuki. Get him back so he could work as the fourth, and she could stay free. My name again. Uzumaki Naruto was somewhat excited, and he found that his name appeared a little frequently. What does this mean? I'm probably a hero. Uzumaki Naruto touched his bare chin and posed like a hero. As the #1 reckless shinobi in the world, the answer to this question must be me. Uzumaki Naruto, who vowed to make a big splash, didn't notice one thing. Not far behind him, behind the building, a little head was stealthy popping out. A pair of snowy white eyes fell on him. The face exploded in a blush, and it was as if smoke began to escape from her head. Love was blind. In the eyes of others, Uzumaki Naruto's words were arrogant. In Hyuga Hinata's young mind, it was just a goal that Naruto hadn't accomplished yet. Naruto, the answer is definitely you. Oju-sama, we should go back. Ah. Okay. Hyuga Hinata retracted her gaze reluctantly and followed her clan's people behind her to leave one step at a time. The posing Uzumaki Naruto didn't notice the scene happening behind him. In the space, Hoshigaki Kisame was no longer listening. He was an honest man, and Deidara's words were so disgusting that he couldn't stand them. What's more, after talking for a long while, the guy hadn't repeated anything. Too damn creative. So powerful, if he could make him, an S.class renegade shinobi, feel so awkward, he was shivering. As if his whole body had countless bugs crawling on it. This Deidara had talent. If it weren't for the leader being here, he couldn't wait to tell Deidara. I, Hoshigaki Kisame, would like to say, you have the strongest talk no jutsu in the world. Unfortunately, these classic words from Deidara's mouth weren't compliments for him, Hoshigaki Kisame. Leader, as I see it, these people in the answer aren't as strong as you, but they will all be a hindrance to you. Especially option C, Might Guy, who's on the shinobi world list. Before Kisame could finish his words, Nagato raised his hand and stopped him. His mind hadn't yet calmed down from the first question to the second question, from fright to relief, and then to the great joy of this question. His mind was now in a bit of a trance. The emotional ups and downs made him feel a little mentally exhausted. Stop thinking about the strength of these people. The corner of Payne's mouth was slightly raised. It was overwhelming confidence. Deidara is right. With my strength, these 5 are as good as grass in my eyes, and Konohagakure is even worse. So, what they use to stop me should be strength. Nagato's voice was unmistakably condescending. As if on trial, he looked around at the stunned crowd and continued to speak. So, I want to reverse the thinking on this question. I don't know who the strongest is among these 5 people, but the weakest one should be the 4th, Uzumaki Naruto. What do you guys think? I think you're fucking crazy. Madness. How arrogant. In Konohagakure, a group of Konoha shinobi was shaking with anger when they heard Payne's arrogant words. As the largest shinobi village, Konoha, numerous people wanted to move their families to Konohagakure. This was the most powerful place in the shinobi world, the most stable place to live. Living in Konoha, they didn't have to worry about being killed by a jutsu when they slept at night and didn't have to worry about renegade shinobis causing a riot. Konohagakure had always been their pride. This damn Akatsuki, how dare he call Konoha worse than grass? For a moment, both shinobis and civilians living in Konohagakure felt angry. If it weren't for the live broadcast not conveying their voices to Akatsuki, Akatsuki would have been cursed to death. Heh, as if Akatsuki was that awesome. Aren't you still going to get killed? You guys are going to die. Why are you still acting arrogantly against my Konoha? No. Aren't they our undercover spies? Why are they still going to attack us? Fuck it, undercover or not, come on. Let them come. Exactly. Fuck you, Akatsuki. I'll look down on you if you don't come. My house is in Konoha, come on. I dare you to come and demolish it. Heh, not only is my home here, but the whole 7 generations of my family are here. Come on, just try and kill us. Let's go to Hokage-sama and apply to invite Akatsuki for a fight. Yeah, ask Hokage Sama to invite them here and fight. No one will be spared. We will destroy them all. Go go go, everyone should apply to the 3rd Hokage. Go go go. Go. A group of people marched toward the Hokage's office. Chapter 25. 25, Kakashi in Action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 25. Chapter 25. Kakashi in Action. At the same time, Sarutobi Hiruzen, in Konohagakura's Hokage's office, was in a state of confusion. The words, attack Konoha, filled his mind. He didn't expect Pain would really attack Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen was feeling a bit confused. If the strong people like the other party sneaked in silently, it would cause great disaster and loss to Konohagakure. Unless, of course, he tried to storm in and allowed himself to discover him in the first place. Just, how was that possible? How could an organization at the pinnacle of strength have a stupid leader that would attack Konoha head-on? Now, he could only hope that the sensory jutsu above Konoha would first detect the opponent's presence when they intruded. With this in mind, Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze swept toward the answers below. The first answer was himself. In the face of Akatsuki's invasion, he should take the lead, but he also knew that he was old and wouldn't be able to stop the other party. Hatake Kakashi, because Sharingan consumed his chakra constantly, he had very little chakra. He could stall the enemy with his strength, but it was difficult for him to defeat them. Might Guy, Sarutobi Hiruzen was naturally very familiar with this usually unremarkable taijutsu jonin. He knew that Might Guy practiced forbidden taijutsu and had great strength. His genin father, by virtue of this taijutsu, had fended off the entire 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. They were all at the level of special jonin. Against 7 people with special sword abilities that were close to the Kage level, even if he encountered them himself, he would still struggle. But these 7 people were beaten by Might Guy's father. A few were even scared out of their wits and didn't even want to be a shinobi anymore. This showed the power of his forbidden technique. This was why Might Guy was a jonin, even though he didn't meet the requirements to be promoted to jonin. But the Kiri shinobi were only close to the Kage level. Pain, the owner of these 7 pairs of Rinnegan, was a real Kage level powerhouse. This was evident from the ability to put Deidara under pressure with just one look. Could he be the answer to this question? It seems that the greatest possibility would be the resurrected 4th. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought so. As for Uzumaki Naruto, he directly skipped him for the same reason he excluded Kabuto. How could Uzumaki Naruto block the invasion from a Kage level powerhouse? That kid can't even use the 3 basic techniques well. Had he not been a Jinchuriki, had he not been the child of those 2? With qualifications like his, he couldn't even get through the doors of the ninja school. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of the approval on the table about Uzumaki Naruto's graduation. Shit. Sarutobi Hiruzen jolted, a cold sweat running down his pale face. He ignored such an important thing. Hurry up. Quickly. Otherwise, it would be too late. Whoosh. His body directly disappeared from the seat. The next moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen had jumped from the window of the Hokage's office. At the same time, 2 figures dressed in black and wearing animal masks appeared quietly behind him. Naruto. Where is he now? Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't even notice that his voice was trembling a bit. At the village gate, our men are keeping an eye on him. Good. Good, Konoha shinobi looking for death by going up first. Konohagakure is really filled with stupid people. In Kumogakure, the laughter of the fourth Reikage resounded through the Reikage's office. He couldn't wait for Sarutobi Hiruzen to appear in front of him right now so that he could have a good look at that guy's ugly face. He should ask him well. How dare your Konohagakure call yourself the #1 shinobi village? Now, he couldn't wait to drag Akatsuki, that group of people, to the center of Konohagakure so that Konoha would bloom red from the center. It was as if the image had appeared before his eyes. Akatsuki's leader opening up his secret technique and sending the entire Konohagakure straight up into the sky. I thought about it. The whole thing might be difficult, but half of it was possible. Ha ha ha. If that happened one day, I would want to see Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face at that time. The fourth Reikage was a little excited. His fist clenched, loosened, then clenched again, and loosened again. Stupid people running toward death are worse than grass. Darui, do you think I would be able to say those things when I defeat that Might Guy? I see Konoha's Might Guy, a moron seeking death, treating other taijutsu techniques like dirt. Below, Darui, who was the right-hand man of the fourth Reikage, froze for a moment. Then, he calmly said, in that case, I think another of Konoha's great taijutsu user clan would challenge you. You mean Hyuga? I smiled disdainfully. Taijutsu was about using fists against the flesh, using one's own muscle and force. That group of girly juken users was useless. Challenge me. If they aren't afraid of death, let them come. When I beat them, at the right moment, I can also use the words from that renegade Iwagakure brat. At the peak of taijutsu, only a god could beat me, the Reikage. At the same time, in Konoha, Hatake Kakashi had found Might Guy, not only told him about his plans but also obtained Might Guy's approval. In that case, I'll go back to report to Hokage-sama. Watching Hatake Kakashi disappear, Might Guy scratched his head. He knew that guy Obito, they attended ninja school at the same period, and they had to save him. Besides, Kakashi was his lifelong rival, and it was his duty to help them out. Arriving at Hokage's office, Hatake Kakashi was stopped by a shinobi at the door. Hokage-sama isn't in his office. Where is Hokage-sama? I have something important to report. I don't know. Hatake Kakashi didn't get the information he wanted, so he thought about it and went straight to the Nara clan's residence. Originally, he was going to report to the third Hokage first and then use the transfer order to find the Ino Shika Cho trio. But now, it was too late. Sprinting along, by the time Hatake Kakashi arrived at Nara Shikaku's yard, he found Nara Shikaku cleaning the yard with his son. Shikaku-san. Oh. It's Kakashi. What is it? Is Hokage-sama looking for me again? A strange look flashed in Nara Shikaku's eyes as he saw Kakashi's eager look and solemn face, thinking that something had happened at Hokage's place. Shikaku-san, I need your help. Therefore, Kakashi repeated his plan to rescue Uchiha Obito and looked up, only to find Nara Shikaku's face full of dilemma. Kakashi, have you reported this matter to Hokage-sama? Not yet, Shikaku-san, Kakashi, I'm afraid I can't help you. Nara Shikaku's look changed. Although he smiled on the surface, his tone was distant. Kakashi-san, if there's nothing else, I'll go back with my son first. Saying that, without waiting for Kakashi to speak, he held the back of Nara Shikamaru's head and turned around. With a crack, the doors closed. Hatake Kakashi stood there for a while and turned away. Looking at Kakashi's shadow disappearing outside the door, Nara Shikaku retracted his shadow behind the door, his face a little ugly. Kakashi, there's only so much I can do for you. Nara Shikamaru looked at his silent father and pondered. Chapter 26. 26, End of the Exam. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 26. Chapter 26. End of the exam. Inside the exam space, Conan's eyes curved into lovely crescents, and Nagato hadn't been this relaxed in a long time. She could feel that Nagato was so relaxed for the first time since Yahiko's accident. Conan looked at the fifth question and answer list. She knew that although Nagato was a little excited, what he said was correct. Having witnessed the ferocity and horror of the demonic statue of the outer path, Conan didn't believe that there was an existence in the shinobi world that surpassed Nagato in terms of individual power. It's just that Conan also had some questions. If strength was not the main reason they could stop pain, then who exactly stopped pain from attacking Konohagakure? Or perhaps, what means did they use? Conan's brow furrowed. Compared to Jiraiya's opinion that none of them was the correct answer, she thought it was highly likely that all five were the right answer. Conan didn't know much about Sarutobi Hiruzen's generation, but his strategy was well known in the shinobi world, second only to Inoki from Iwagakure. What's more, as the only Kage that took back the seat in the shinobi world, Conan didn't believe that he wouldn't have some kind of special means. Conan knew that Hatake Kakashi's Sharingan was from Obito, from the space's analysis, and she thought that his Sharingan also had some kind of dimension-creating powers. It was possible to trap pain with that power. As for the last three options, Conan directly put them all in the preferred answer category. She thought that these three options were the most likely, and the correct answer was among them. After all, three names were the same as the ones on the shinobi world list. Number 1 Taijutsu. Number 1 Speed. Number 1 Reckless. Conan's voice was very light. She really couldn't figure out the answer to this question. The pair of beautiful eyes glanced at the Akatsuki members, one by one. None of them met her gaze. In the end, she had to rest her eyes on Jiraiya. Sensing the inquiry in Conan's gaze, Jiraiya stroked his white hair. He initially had an answer, but after being snapped out of it by Nagato, he simply changed it. Defeating Nagato shouldn't only rely on strength. He admitted that Namake's Minato was very strong, and in terms of speed, Namake's Minato was unparalleled. If he was resurrected, Jiraiya believed that he could prevent pain from invading Konohagakure. However, there was a neglected condition there. Time. Jiraiya quickly calculated in his heart. At this moment, his ability to analyze the information as a high-level shinobi was on full display. It was stated in the analysis of the first question that basically everyone in Akatsuki died in the end, which means that Nagato would also die. Nagato became Konoha's undercover spy before the Fourth Shinobi World War, that is to say after Nagato became a spy, Nagato died. And I died at Nagato's hands. Moreover, the people listed, who fended off Nagato, didn't have his name in it. Some things were hidden in that stretch of time. Meaning. Pain attacked Konoha after his death, and Tsunade became the fifth Hokage. Simply put, the future timeline was his own death. Pain attacked Konoha. Pain became a spy. Death. The Fourth Shinobi World War. In this way, it explained why he had nothing to do with the resurrected Namake's Minato. Jiraiya's heart stirred. There was another piece of information hidden there. If Namake's Minato was resurrected and he wasn't, then either the jutsu user actively didn't resurrect himself, or his own resurrection lacked some kind of condition. Jiraiya put this unexpected gain into his heart, ready to go out and investigate what techniques could be used to raise the dead. After comparing the conditions for the jutsu, he could find the shinobi named Kabuto. Then about the fifth question. Jiraiya frowned. They resurrected the fourth. It must have been during the Fourth Shinobi World War. At that time, many hostile shinobis would be resurrected, and the allied shinobi forces fought hard. So, they began to look for their own dead shinobi to resurrect. That meant when pain attacked Konoha, Namake's Minato probably hadn't been resurrected. Number 1 Taijutsu and number 1 Reckless, it's really hard to choose. Jiraiya sighed and looked at Pain. Can Naruto really stop this abnormal guy? Jiraiya, do you have a different answer? Pain felt Jiraiya's gaze and suddenly asked. No. Exam space, for the last question, I choose D. Uzumaki Naruto. Nagato's voice just fell, and the white fog in the examination space suddenly shuddered. In the next moment, the fog disappeared altogether and was replaced by a huge live screen above. Fireworks were constantly exploding on the screen, but they were as vivid and beautiful as real fireworks. At the same time, pop-up windows popped up on the screen. Fifth question answered correctly. Congratulations on completing the exam. The minimum passing score is 60, the score for this exam is 100. There is no cheating and no unexpected situation in this examination. All supervisors have no objection to the results, and the results are valid. Congratulations, you got a perfect score in this exam. 100% of the exam rewards will be paid. Reward recipient. Group. You are granted an extra reward. Video answer analysis. One correct answer to the revised question, additional rewards granted. Reward recipient. Conan. Privilege upgrade. The number of seats in the Shinobi World list increased by 5. Privilege upgrade. Open other lists. 1 seat. A series of messages constantly appeared on screen, and then they were pushed off by new messages, which dazzled the Akatsuki group. Space, is there no analysis for the fifth question? Nagato's puzzled voice rang out. Every time after answering a question correctly, the space would ask whether to view the analysis. How come after answering this question correctly, it was gone? Video answer analysis permission has been granted. Normal answer analysis will be cancelled automatically. Do you want to play the answer analysis of the fifth question? Do you want to receive the reward? Do you want to open the Shinobi World list? Wait a minute, wait a minute. Nagato, who was smashed by continuous information, was a bit stunned and quickly asked, can you start one by one? Yes, please select an operation. Pain took a deep breath as he looked at the crowd in the space and noticed that they were all staring at him. The urgency in their eyes had already explained everything. Exam space, please play video answer analysis. When Pain's voice just fell, the screen in front of everyone turned black. In the middle, a small circle was turning slowly. Loading. In Konohagakure, Sarutobi Hiruzen's leaping body suddenly stopped and landed on the roof of a building, staring intently at the spinning circle of light. The exam questions predicting the future were outrageous enough, and now, this bizarre space was going to make a video presentation about the future. What the hell is it? Not only he, but countless people in the Shinobi world were looking forward to it. A video that could show them the future. Did such a thing really exist? At that time, the whole Shinobi world was quiet, waiting for the image to reappear on the screen. Chapter 27. 27. The first member to take off his clothes. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 27. Chapter 27. The first member to take off his clothes. Above the exam space, Ruji spread the prepared video to everyone's screen. The initial video was originally prepared by the system, which was long and tedious. If it were played completely, not only would it take a lot of time but also reveal other information. This wasn't conducive to the opening of the next exam space, so Ruji trimmed off most of the videos the system gave him, leaving only the parts where the answers could be seen. Incidentally, it also came with background music. Just when everyone inside and outside the space was waiting anxiously, the dark screen for over 10 seconds suddenly lit up. The first thing that was revealed was the title of the video. Analysis of the fifth question, analysis of the fifth question. Only the analysis of the fifth question. Not all the videos. Is it because all the videos would involve future examination questions? Some of the brighter minds had already thought of the reason for space to do so, but they couldn't consider it carefully yet. The picture above had already changed. The first thing that caught the eye was a huge village with 5 huge stone heads carved into the rock wall in the middle, a highly recognizable structure that made everyone recognize the place at first glance. The Land of Fire, Konohagakure. Is that Tsunade? It's her. It seems that she really became the 5th Hokage. Shit, the images are turning too fast. In the midst of all the arguments, a young child ran past. Behind her, a gray-haired old lady was leaning on a crutch and kindly looking at her little granddaughter. The picture suddenly changed, and the heartwarming scene left everyone dumbfounded. They were ready to watch a violent fight, only to see such a peaceful scene. Suddenly, sorrowful music came out of the screen, which was magnificent but extremely sad, as if foretelling something. In Konohagakure, the group of people preparing to request something to Sarutobi Hiruzen all stopped in their place. They lifted up their heads and looked at the picture above, but their faces became more and more ugly. They were all shinobis of Konoha, who lived in Konohagakure for many years and were very familiar with every street in Konohagakure. Therefore, they knew of that street in the video. It's all true. The street in the corner of the video was where they were standing now. They had guessed, the scene before them was the tranquility before the storm, and all this would be broken soon. Among them, a shinobi looked at the image above and began to tremble violently. Fear, indescribable fear, was attacking him. He was the same person who had yelled, "Akatsuki, come here." He felt fear because, in the picture, the old woman and the girl were his mother and daughter. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Boom. A black rocket with a flaming tail suddenly appeared on the screen and detonated at the feet of the old woman, who had no time to react and was directly blown to pieces. Boiling blood like red-hot rain poured over the little girl's head. The little girl was frozen in place, and before she could react, the building that was bombarded above her collapsed, directly burying her. No. No, no. Please, no. When he saw the tragic death of his mother and daughter, the shivering shinobi instantly collapsed. He sat on the ground, looking at the constantly playing video, no longer the same as when he first taunted Akatsuki. The shinobis around him could no longer care about him, staring at the screen with dead eyes. They were all Konoha shinobis, so naturally, they understood this attack and what it represented. The attack came so suddenly that the enemy who launched it must have been in Konohagakure. Pain and his people had entered Konoha. As the scene in the video kept rising, the whole village appeared in the picture, and everyone realized that the explosion wasn't only in that place, but everywhere. For an instant, everyone looked at the screen in disbelief. Directly attacking the village. This was no longer an invasion. This was war. All-out war. Pain and his men were starting an all-out war. He, surprisingly, wanted to fight against the entire Konohagakure with his own strength. Madness. How arrogant. At the same time, the screen in front of everyone was suddenly divided into 6. There was a figure with a red cloud robe on each screen with some black sticks stuck in their bodies. One person is different. Jiraiya looked at the woman on the screen. He narrowed his eyes again and looked at the man of the Fuma clan in front of Nagato. Sure enough, he had died before Pain invaded Konoha. Jiraiya's heart sank slightly. He didn't expect to fight to the death but could only eliminate only one person from the other side. If it was to this extent, Konoha was hardly a match. Unless all of Konoha's shinobis used all of their power. Jiraiya looked up with a stony expression. At this point, all the pains on the top 6 screens had already started to move. The only female animal Path Pain took the lead, raising her hand to summon several giant animals, and stepped on a summoned monster bird to attack. As soon as these summoned beasts appeared, they began to attack intensively and indiscriminately. In an instant, Konohagakure suffered numerous casualties. The whole village became increasingly chaotic. This 5th Hokage couldn't do anything. Danzo hugged his arms and looked at the screen coldly. A touch of gloom appeared in his eyes. Foreign enemies invaded Konohagakure, and Tsunade was so slow to react. Beside him, Sarutobi Hiruzen was also gloomy. He thought about it more than Danzo. He knew what this video would reveal next. It would expose everything. Konoha's strength. Damn it. Sarutobi Hiruzen gripped his fingertips white and stared at the screen. He just couldn't help it. Otherwise, he would have already stopped this video. Meanwhile, on the screen, except for one pain who didn't move, the other pains had joined the fight, going against one Konoha shinobi after another. Almost at the moment of contact, the Konoha shinobi turned into casualties on screen. The weakest pain was at Kage level, which was extremely powerful. Ordinary people from Konoha simply couldn't do anything. Except for delaying their advance with their lives. This scene made every shinobi in Konoha become serious. Some of those were their comrades, some were their clansmen, and some were even themselves. Watching themselves die in the video almost drove them crazy, but they couldn't do anything about it. Now they were full of questions. Where was the Hokage? What about the fifth Hokage? As if knowing they would ask this, a seventh screen suddenly appeared on the big screen. On the screen, the fifth Hokage was grabbing the advisors, one hand each, and angrily said, "I'm the fifth Hokage. You must inform Naruto to come back. No, the enemy is looking for him. We can't let him come back. Akatsuki has already gathered all the other tailed beasts. We must not let Naruto come back. Dot. Dot. Dot." The words of the two Hokage advisors shocked all the top leaders in the shinobi world. The tailed beast, the nuclear weapon of shinobi. A village with a tailed beast and a village without a tailed beast have completely different voices in the shinobi world. But shouldn't Jinchuriki, and their tailed beast, be the best protected existence in the village? How did they all get taken away? Could it be? Could it be? Akatsuki attacked every village in the shinobi world head on, like how they were attacking Konoha. Konoha was just the last one. So, in fact, in the end, the allied shinobi forces only had a few powerful shinobi left before they were stopped by both Zetsu, Kabuto, and some resurrected corpses. Thinking of this, a violent killing intent erupted from the eyes of all the Kages. Staring at the screen. If that was the truth, they must take the lead. For this reason, they didn't hesitate to let go of the hatred with other shinobi villages temporarily. At this moment, everyone who thought about it understood. The sky was changing in the shinobi world. Whether Konoha could stop them or not, whether Akatsuki would be left alive or not, the shinobi world had a force above all the shinobi villages. In Sunagakure, Raza didn't expect so much. He could become the Kazekage solely because his bloodline limit could bring prosperity to the barren Sunagakure. The two Kazekage advisors behind him had figured everything out and just wanted to tentatively ask Raza's opinion when they suddenly heard Raza swearing. The last one attacked was Konoha. "Akatsuki, do you look down on my Sunagakure? Damn it! Damn it!" Uzumaki Naruto looked at Tsunade above. He didn't know this woman, but she seemed very gentle. With his little head leaning on his hand and both his legs swinging back and forth, he waited expectantly for the next scene of the video. As for his practice, it was reasonable. Didn't he recognize Sannin Jiraiya as a teacher? It made sense to follow him out of the village to practice. I hope, when I go out, I will look cool. In Konoha Hospital, Sasuke had a splitting headache. Clutching his own clothes with a death grip, his eyes already flushed red. Damn it, damn it, damn it. It's him again, it's him again, it's that loser again. What about me? What about me? He was so shocked by all the events today that his mind had drifted into a trance. He was just holding on now, not allowing himself to pass out. He had to see for himself that he was better than that loser. Otherwise, he was unwilling. Very unwilling. He must be the most powerful shinobi in the future. He must be. Meanwhile, as pain wreaks havoc, Konoha's senior-level shinobi begin to appear in the video one after another. The first to appear was a white-haired Hatake Kakashi, who managed to save Iruka from the hands of Deva Path Pain. Kakashi's appearance shocked everyone. Pain was too strong. So strong that they couldn't resist him, even in their own village. They couldn't even form an effective block like the Konoha in the video. Hatake Kakashi's appearance brought the mood of all the viewers to a climax. Hatake Kakashi was the most iconic figure in Konoha's new generation. His lightning release could cut through anything with one hand and a Sharingan, giving him his own exclusive title in the shinobi world. Everyone looked at Hatake Kakashi expectantly, hoping that he would miraculously defeat Deva Path Pain like a hero. Although, he wasn't the answer to the fifth question. Even the Kages of the other shinobi villages, who at the moment pride themselves on having everything figured out, look at the screen and hope that Kakashi would win. Although, they clearly knew that this was impossible. Earth release. Hatake Kakashi didn't let them down. After saving Iruka, he hit the ground directly with both hands. With a slight rumble, an earth release wall directly surrounded Deva Path Pain. Is he going to fight this pain? Keeping himself and Pain in an encirclement for the sake of others, Kakashi is so awesome. As expected of Kakashi-sama, Kakashi-sama go. Outside the video, the voice cheering for Kakashi suddenly stopped. After putting the earth release into effect, Kakashi was directly struck in his left shoulder by a black stick from Pain. Kakashi was hit hard. However, instead of retreating, he advanced, and his right hand was ablaze with lightning, the lightning release. Chidori, that made him famous in the shinobi world. However, he didn't know that the black stick attack on Pain wasn't only a physical attack, it could also disrupt the victim's chakra. Deva Path Pain easily escaped Kakashi's attack. Kakashi didn't give the other party a chance to react. He condensed lightning release again and released continuous lightning attacks. For a while, thunder and lightning raged across the screen. The ear-splitting thunder was accompanied by increasingly heavy music, like a sorrowful hymn. It's bouncing off. All the thunderbolts are bouncing off. How is that possible? What is that? He didn't make seals at all. Wait, look at the third screen. He's backing up that Pain, oh no, Kakashi is in danger. Watching the screen, the creepy fat man swiftly flew and arrived in front of Deva Path, looking at Kakashi with a sly smile, everyone's heart sank. Kakashi was already exhausted by one opponent, and now with two, Kakashi had no chance of surviving. Everyone shook their heads in disappointment. It seemed that the miracle they were looking forward to wouldn't happen. Kakashi wasn't the first Konoha elite to change the tide of battle, but the first Konoha elite to die. Just as everyone fell silent, a surprised voice suddenly sounded, "Look." He took off his clothes. What? Taking off clothes? They looked at the other, only to see a face grow on each side of Azura Path's side profile, and 4 arms grew on both sides of his body. With 3 faces and 6 arms, clothes would only affect his strength. Azura Path ripped off the red cloud robe he was wearing, and that action was incomparably spontaneous and cool. If they strip, they will die. I know, it must be Hatake Kakashi having another powerful technique, right? Turning the battle around. Could it be that he rebounded from death and killed this ugly guy? Azura Path, he took off his clothes. In the space, the Akatsuki crowd looked at Azura Path with strange eyes. Even Nagato's face was somewhat unnatural. New week. Vote Power Stones guys. Chapter 28. 28, Mayhem. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 28. Chapter 28. Mayhem. Under the intense speculation of countless people, the video continued. Deva Path was behind Azura Path, and all of Hatake Kakashi's subsequent lightning attacks were dodged by him because of their shared vision. Deva Path raised his hand, and an invisible attraction exploded, controlling Kakashi to bump into the blade on Azura Path's arm. Boom! Boom! At this moment, two huge fists fell from the sky and crashed to the ground. The earth release displayed by Hatake Kakashi was like a fragile eggshell. It swept around like a wave of the earth under the giant fists. Deva Path's look changed, repulsion instantly appeared around his body. He was being swept back by the wave of earth, avoiding the huge fists that fell from the sky. The giant fists rapidly shrunk, leaving Azura Path that was deformed and scrapped. Then two figures leaped down from above. They were two fatties, one large and one small. Dad! Huh! Is that me? In Konohagakure, Akimichi Choji even forgot to chew the food stuffed into his mouth and stared blankly at the figures. Is that who I'll grow up to be? Handsome. Choji. Would he be that strong in the future? The pale blonde ponytailed Yamanaka Ino looked at her companion in shock. She couldn't imagine that her gluttonous teammate would be so powerful in the future. Although it was with the help of a sneak attack by Uncle Akimichi Choza, it couldn't change the fact that they pummeled and killed a Kage-level powerhouse. Dead. Dead. In the exam space, Haydn looked at Pain exaggeratedly. No way. It's not really because of taking off his clothes, is it? Hearing Haydn's words, all the Akatsuki members subconsciously grabbed onto their red cloud robes. Although they all couldn't believe it, but it took no more than 10 seconds after Azura Path took off his clothes, then death. Isn't this too coincidental? That, Byaku, do you have any more uniforms for the organization? They want some more too. Note. Byaku equals Conan's codename. Kakuzu pointed to the 4 ghostly pale masks on his back and controlled the 4 masks to nod their heads. Speechlessly looking at Conan for a while. Byaku, I've been in the organization for half a year. Shouldn't I have a spare? Deidara raised his arm. The tongue on his palm extended out of his palm as if to say, "One more please." I don't. Conan spoke with a cold face. She glanced at the severely deformed Azura Path and made up her mind. When she had time, she should reserve more sets of clothing for the organization. She couldn't spend all her money on explosive tags. Haydn heard Conan's answer, touched his chin, and then turned his eyes to Obito, who still couldn't move. Hey, what are you doing? Obito had calmed down a bit by now and was immediately shocked by Haydn's action when he saw him peeling off his clothes with a scythe. Don't make so much noise. Anyway, when we get out later, the leader won't let you go. You shouldn't waste this outfit. It's a little dirty, but I don't mind it. In the video, Deva Path's gaze didn't fluctuate, looking at the 3 people who attacked him crazily, as if a human being was watching an ant trying to bite him. Shinra Tensei. Boom. A wave exploded, and the 3 people who besieged Deva Path were instantly blasted away. The 3 men climbed up and constantly attacked Deva Path and finally found that the Shinra Tensei used by Deva Path had fatal defects. The jutsu had a 5-second cooldown period. Under the constant attacks of Hatake Kakashi, Akimichi Choza, and Akimichi Choji, the 3 finally joined forces to control Deva Path. Hatake Kakashi directly condensed Chidori and charged at Deva Path. This scene shocked everyone who watched the live broadcast and heard sharp sounds of lighting. They finally showed an expression of relief. Finally, Pain will fall. Konoha's technical expert Kakashi is really good. He could even analyze such important information in battle. With a 5-second interval, as long as the attack is sustained, there is no effect even with his sealless jutsu. Now, 6 people have fallen, too. With such strength, it seems that they aren't strong enough to be Konoha's enemy. Could they have some other means? Have you noticed that this pain hasn't taken his clothes off? In the discussion, Hatake Kakashi's Chidori was about to stab Deva Path. Suddenly, a familiar figure fell from the sky and took the initiative to shield Deva Path. It's him. Kakashi was shocked that the arriving figure was Azura Path, who Choji and his father had just smashed a few moments ago. It's just that, at this point, even if the Deva Path had just been smashed, his clothes were still on. They should have guessed. How did this happen? Shit, isn't he dead? A group of people spoke angrily. They felt that their IQ had been insulted. They just saw it with their own eyes. Konoha's fat duo killed him, and his body cracked. Now, he had reappeared intact. What's more, the other party actually absorbed Kakashi's Chidori. How is this possible? Watching Kakashi use Sharingan's power twice to save Akimichi Choji, who was passing on information, and finally die of exhaustion, they suddenly felt a sense of sadness. Even a shinobi like Kakashi, who was famous, was no match for the other side. The other side seemed like he was just playing Kakashi from beginning to end. Tsunade said that Akatsuki appeared to find Uzumaki Naruto. Gulp. Does it mean that they, at the moment, aren't using their full strength? What? That's impossible. Totally impossible. Everyone was startled but then shook their heads quickly, denying the answer. No way. There was no way that such a monster could exist in the shinobi world. If he still had hidden strength, this was a surprise comparable to seeing the shinobi god. However, when people thought of Pain's calm appearance, a bad feeling rose spontaneously in their hearts. He may really have that kind of strength. On the other hand, Choji, who escaped, passed on the information that Kakashi exchanged with his life to the fifth Hokage, Tsunade. Tsunade directly summoned the giant slugs and passed out the intelligence by using the slugs. At the same time, on another screen, Konoha's torture department appeared, using a powerful seal technique to seal the animal path's huge summoned beast. Marino Ibiki directly trapped the animal path, trying to get information. This deeply moved the shinobi crowd watching the broadcast, thinking that the very powerful Konoha shinobi would complete a kill. As a result, Marino Ibiki didn't expect that animal path not to feel any pain, so she didn't fear torture at all, and he was beaten by her. Once again, the free animal path called out huge summoned beasts and entered the battle. With the re-entry of the giant summoned beasts, the battle instantly escalated. Konohagakure became more and more chaotic. A violent battle was fought, a powerful jutsu raged, leaving everyone watching trapped in a bout of bleary-eyed confusion. Everyone was excited by the video on the live broadcast. No matter the powerful Konoha or the more powerful Akatsuki, the mysterious veil was torn off before them at this moment. Especially for the civilians in the shinobi world, the live broadcast invited them into the shinobi world. Chapter 29. 29, Shinra Tensei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 29. Chapter 29. Shinra Tensei. The battle was still going on. On the fourth screen, the wandering Naraka path was defeated by Konohamaru with a ball-shaped sealless jutsu, which surprised everyone. But before the crowd was further shocked, Konoha's Deva path had already chased the fleeing Choji to Tsunade. Kage. Level confrontation. The battle rating instantly climbed. Countless people nervously watched Deva path and Tsunade confronted each other. Tsunade, as the fifth Hokage, was surrounded by 4 Umbu. But everybody could see that she had lost momentum. Compared to Deva Path's heavy atmosphere, the calmness shown by Konoha's fifth Hokage looked fake. Because she was a Kage, she had to pretend to be calm. The fifth Hokage doesn't look very strong. Why did she only appear now? Is she worthy of being a Kage? She doesn't deserve it. If third Hokage Sama were here, he would meet the enemy the moment he showed up, and we wouldn't have lost a lot of Konoha shinobi. Several villagers in Konoha watched the video with tears in their eyes. The familiar scenes in the video made them panic, wanting to substitute the village leader with another one. In their hearts, Hokage-sama was an invincible being, a god. As soon as they appeared, these people who disturbed the village would be immediately suppressed. But as the fifth, Tsunade, didn't deserve to be Hokage at all. She cowered behind Konoha's shinobi until her opponent reached out to her, and she did nothing but summon her beast. How did such a person become Hokage? It can't be, just because she was a student of the third Hokage-sama. At that time, looking at Tsunade, who confronted Deva Path, the entire Konohagakure was furious. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe, and his fingers subconsciously tapped on the stem. Unlike ordinary shinobi, how could he not know the duties of a Kage? What Konoha needed at that time was a brilliant mind, not a muscle-headed leader. Senju Tsunade did a good job, and she deserved the name of Hokage. It's just. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the 6 figures in the picture and sighed with a trace of guilt in his heart. The fighting had been going on for so long, and besides the people of the Ino Shika Cho group, Sarutobi Hiruzen only saw one of his family members, Hatake Kakashi. People should know that Konoha had 30 to 40 clans and families, large and small. With the strength shown by these pains, a clan could bury them by bringing out their few jonins. But who would have thought that these families would let Akatsuki wreak havoc in Konohagakure? Internal fights actually affected the external fight. Do each of these families think they were Shimura Danzo? Stupid. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flashed a trace of coldness. He didn't care whether those groups of people had any opinions about Tsunade's coming to power or why he only saw Konohamaru. Some people should be given a visit soon. Do you think we should move? Ichiraku Tuchi. No, Ramen Ichiraku's shop owner, Tuchi, slapped his palm, narrowing his eyes, looking at his beautiful young daughter, and asked aloud. He came to Konohagakure with because Konoha was the largest shinobi village, which was very safe, but now it seemed that Konoha wasn't too safe. Just now, he saw that the 3-headed dog almost accidentally destroyed Ramen Ichiraku's store in the video. He had already seen that Konoha shinobi had done their best to some extent, but Akatsuki obviously wasn't going all out. In order to get news of Uzumaki Naruto, they wouldn't directly kill everyone, but when they found information about Uzumaki Naruto, they would definitely kill everyone. Maybe one move could blow Konoha flat. No way. Konoha is too dangerous. I'd better take with me. As if to verify his guess, Deva Path asked Tsunade for Naruto in the video, but Tsunade directly refused. At this moment a Hokage's duty was fully reflected in her. She was the Hokage that had to protect everyone in Konohagakure, not one person. At this moment, countless people began to understand, and some of them understood Senju Tsunade. She didn't show up because she had to do more important things. In fact, her heart was heavier than anyone else. Just as the crowd somewhat understood Tsunade, the scene took a sharp turn for Konoha. Human Path suddenly appeared behind Shizun and directly launched a soul-sucking technique to capture Shizun's memory and kill her. Pain got the news he wanted, so he didn't care. He decided to use the Shinra Tensei to erase Konoha from the shinobi world in one fell swoop. At this moment, let the world feel pain. Glancing at the frozen Senju Tsunade, Deva Path turned around coldly, his body drifting up slowly. Tsunade looked up and saw the dazzling light behind Deva Path. All she could see was a dark figure with a big shadow and 2 strange Rinnegan. At the same time, all the scenes on the live broadcast combined into one, and everyone's attention was focused on Deva Path. What is he going to do? Why is he flying? Questions kept appearing in their minds, but before they could understand, the answers had already appeared. Shinra Tensei. Deva Path was blazing high in the air, and an invisible repulsion force spread rapidly with him at the center of the circle. The repulsion ball expanded rapidly and instantly touched the ground. The Konoha building beneath Deva Path's feet bore the brunt of the huge pressure and was instantly destroyed. Boom! 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 With the constant enlargement of the repulsion circle, explosions sounded, and Konoha's buildings began to disappear. Not collapse, but disappear. As if erased. Not even the remains of the building. The repulsion passed by, and everything in Konohagakure turned to rubble, leaving only the solid ground as if it were a desert. Countless people began to die, whether civilians or shinobi, whether genin or chunin. They could not resist this miraculous force and were destroyed instantly. Only the jonin could rely on speed to avoid the expanding force. Outside the live broadcast, watching Konoha's Hokage rock with the 5 Hokage's faces symbolizing the glorious history of Konoha were destroyed one by one. Silence fell. With sullen faces, the whole atmosphere in the village was depressing. They thought that they took Akatsuki seriously enough, but to their surprise, it was still not enough. Far from enough. The 4th Raikage's face swelled with blue veins. He was secretly pleased when he first saw Konoha destroyed and even joked with Darui. But now, even if the prophecy came true, and Akatsuki destroyed Konoha with one jutsu, he didn't have any joy and even wanted to slap his forehead. I just had to run my mouth. This power, this godlike force, couldn't be stopped by Konohagakure, nor could his Kumogakure or any of the other shinobi villages defeat it. This wasn't a level a shinobi could achieve. Although he was unwilling to admit it, he couldn't admit it, but in his mind, this power shouldn't belong to a human. Smack! The pipe in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth fell from his stunned mouth. He didn't pick it up, and the 2 umbu behind him didn't stop it. They let it fall from the roof and hit a passerby's head. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were dull, and he couldn't wait to slap himself. Is this a Kage.level shinobi? Is this a Kage.level that could be overcome by mere jonin? What nonsense, a single person could erase a shinobi village from the map. How could a Kage.level shinobi do that? Even a sage couldn't do that. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt as if he had lived his whole life in vain. Thanks to that, he has been angrily scolding Danzo for being short-sighted, but now it seemed that he was the blindest one. Chapter 30. 30, A Loud Cry in the Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 30. Chapter 30. A Loud Cry in the Sky. In Konoha streets, countless people sat down on the ground, their legs were weak, and even a smell appeared from their lower bodies. It's horrible. It's terrifying. How did Konoha attract such a terrifying guy? Uzumaki Naruto. Where's Uzumaki Naruto? Why hasn't he come yet? Didn't you say he would come to save us? Does he have to wait for us to die? A middle-aged woman on the streets of Konoha wailed in utter shock at the tragic state in the live broadcast. Just hand over Uzumaki Naruto, sacrifice him alone for the safety of everyone in Konoha. Why don't you hand that monster over? He hasn't come yet, he must be taking revenge on us. A monster is a monster. Such a cruel heart. We used to be a little unkind to him, and now he wants us to die. And the 5th Hokage, she must be sheltering the monster. Sacrificing our lives for the safety of the monster. Tisk, Tsunade, this woman is too dirty. Her Senju family is dead, so she wants to bring Konoha down with them. How did a person like her become a Hokage? That's it. The life of a monster for the peace of an entire village. Even if the monster dies, he should contribute to Konoha. He is a sin himself. If he dies for us, he can purify his sins. Yes, yes. At this moment, the crowd's emotions completely erupted. What they had just concluded in their hearts about Senju Tsunade was now all transformed into anger. Conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. Otherwise, why not hand over Uzumaki Naruto? They weren't sure about the special quality of Uzumaki Naruto, but if he was just an ordinary civilian, would Hokage-sama have sheltered him so much? No. Definitely not. The woman's voice was very infectious and penetrating, which made some of the scared silly people wake up and quickly join the crusade. Humans, once again, embodied their blindness and narrow-mindedness. Some shinobi heard the shouts, then looked at each other. They knew better, but even if Naruto had that kind of identity. If Hokage was the first to know that pain was that destructive. For the sake of the village, why was she still persistent? They don't know, and to their worry, the fifth Hokage might not know that future answer either. At the entrance of Konohagakure, Uzumaki Naruto was looking at the video with some boredom. Why hasn't he appeared yet? I wouldn't have gotten lost, would I? This made Naruto a little worried. Naruto didn't care about the destruction of Konohagakure in the video. Because he had already thought of the solution. After all, the exam space said that he would stop them, and if this really happened in the future, it would be better for him to come back earlier. Suddenly, a loud ruckus came, and Naruto heard someone calling his name. Naruto's heart rejoiced and was just about to run in the direction of the sound. Is it because everyone knows that I saved them in the future and wanted to thank me? When he fully heard the content of the voices, Naruto suddenly stopped. He discovered, to his disbelief, that those people were going to hand him over. They wanted to trade his life for their safety. The reason was, I deserve it. At this moment, Naruto's fortitude was completely broken, tears flowed silently, and he looked around in confusion. Now, he wasn't the genius Naruto who hadn't appeared in the video. Now, he was just the loser in Konoha. He pretends to be optimistic, and he often played pranks just to attract people's attention and make them acknowledge him. What did I do wrong? Why should he be welcomed with verbal abuse and beatings when he was young? Why should all other children have friends, and he didn't? Why should he only eat noodles and drink expired milk that would upset his stomach? Naruto didn't know the answer, and he didn't know who to ask. He was born without parents and didn't know who they were, but he was still a child. Tears were surging. He didn't know, he didn't understand. He had tried his best not to trouble others. He just wanted approval from others. Was it so difficult? For a long time, his confused eyes looked at the screen above. Was it necessary to save such a village? At this moment, in the middle of the picture, Deva Path Pain descended from the sky and landed in the sunken pit. Decades of Konoha, in his hands, went up in smoke. This gave him an inexplicable feeling. Swish. 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 Series of figures standing on the edge of the crater, looking down at the two pains below. Konoha's forehead protector on their heads reflects the light of the sun, and anger in their eyes. These people. Damn it. Damn it. On the roof, Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and looked at the figure on the edge of the pit. He really didn't expect these people to stand up after Konoha was destroyed. Especially when he saw Danzo with one eye and a large number of Konoha Umbu behind him, his anger instantly broke through the sky. Danzo, at this time. He isn't dead. Damn it. The clans not doing their job is one thing, but you Danzo. Once again, when the village was in danger, he chose to stand by. Your route, is it just to target the clans within Konoha? Sarutobi Hiruzen clenched his fists. Now, he just wanted to turn back and fight with Danzo. Now he was full of anger. He couldn't wait to make an appointment with all the family patriarchs and give them a violent whack on the head. But he couldn't. All of this hadn't happened yet. If he did that, he would lose his dignity as the Kage. Sarutobi Hiruzen closed his eyes, and his chest went up and down several times. When he opened them again, his mood had calmed down a lot. At this time, there were new changes in the video. Whoosh! A figure leaped down from above and a slender leg smashed viciously at Deva Path Pain. Pain leaped gently and easily escaped Tsunade's attack. Bang! Tsunade's leg smashed on the ground, and a deep gully of 2 or 3 meters wide instantly tore forward. Konoha, not a place for you to run wild. At the moment, Tsunade was covered in scars and wobbled, as if she was about to fall down at the next second. You can't stop me. Deva Path's eyes were indifferent, and his tone didn't fluctuate at all, as if destroying Konoha was just a trivial matter. There are only 2 of you left now, we outnumber you. Tsunade's face was resolute. In her opinion, the other party had performed such a horrible technique, his body must have lost most of its chakra. Now was the best chance to avenge Konoha. With her hands in a seal, she raised them to her eyebrows, and Senju Tsunade softly chanted. "In seal. Release." Whoosh! A strange pattern suddenly appeared on her face. Stimulated by this secret technique, every cell in Tsunade's body began to produce chakra at no cost. In addition, Tsunade's wounds healed quickly at the speed visible to the naked eye. After finishing everything, Tsunade looked up and looked at Pain. Today, she had to kill both of them. Seeing the scene in front of her, Tsunade's pupil shrank with a jerk. 6 pains. Those pains had come back to life. Off-screen, people of the shinobi world saw it clearly. Just now, the Pain who hadn't made a move summoned a monster and then saw all the other Pains who should have died in battle come out of the monster's mouth. At the moment, 6 Pains gathered together. What is this technique? Damn it, doesn't that mean that the other Pain could never be killed without killing that one Pain first? With this powerful enemy, Konoha is in danger. While the others were chattering, the 6 pairs of cold, unfeeling eyes on the screen stared at Tsunade, which made her heart sink completely. It seems that today is a terrible day. Tsunade smiled bitterly, but she felt more relaxed than ever before. Konoha was gone, so was the chain that tied her. What remains was only the duty of the Kage. As it happens, in Konoha, all the Kages died in battle. Tsunade was determined to die. She took a deep breath and assumed an aggressive stance. Ashura Path looked at Tsunade, who was stubbornly resisting, and his feet stomped hard. Spider-web-like cracks spread out from the bottom of his feet as he used the recoil force to charge directly at Tsunade. His weapon materializes on his arm, and this blow, if it hits, would kill her in one hit. Ashura Path's figure bursts out extremely fast, so fast that Tsunade simply couldn't react. The strong gale from the other party's fist had already stung her face. Feeling the force on from her opponent's fist, Tsunade's face changed. No. There's no way to avoid it. Swish. In this life-or-death moment, an orange-red figure descended from the sky, like a god descending from heaven, blocking in front of Tsunade. He calmly looked at Ashura Path's attack and shot out a fist.